Hello, sports fans. It's Friday, September 20th, 2024. Welcome to Cleats by Dre. I'm Dre. Let's talk some sports.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble! Get ready to rumble! Y'all ready for this? I like to move it. I like to move it.
Okie doke. Today's episode is a part 2 of sorts to our episode 9 that covered the national media deals, particularly that $76 billion NBA one. We're going to talk about here local and regional deals for a bit. I'll share my situation with YouTube TV and trying to watch the Mets, the Knicks, etc. We'll look at what else is happening at the broader level and just make a call as to whether this is good or bad or neither. My goal is just to make you more informed as to what's sort of happening here. Before we get to that, though, a few happenings I do want to review since our last episode on Tuesday. 3 in particular. First, the Mets. They've been hot without Francisco Lindor in the back, and hopefully it doesn't linger too long. They beat up on the Nationals with a sweep. We just watched here Thursday night. Again, beat up on the Phillies. Can you believe first time in franchise history they've scored 10 runs in 3 straight games? There's a lot of firsts that have happened lately. I didn't think that was one without their MVP candidate. What's apparent is, the young kid that came up, right? Luis Angel Acuna, Ronald Acuna's younger brother. He has come up and the lights have not been too bright. In actuality, and hearing some of the quotes, he hits better. I think there are some players like that need the spotlight, need the greater attention. Middling season in AAA from everything I've read. But he's been a bright spot, both from the clutch hitting, the defense at shortstop, and I think he is the perfect example of how these are Steve Cohen's Mets now, right? Steve Cohen talked about wanting to build sustained winners, emulating the Dodgers, having the organizational depth. And Acuna got here, right, last year, that Max Scherzer trade where Cohen took on a ton of money to get a top prospect like Acuna. The Mets of not too distant past, look, Eddie Alvarez is on the team. That's the type of guy, a retread that we would sign. Joe Panic, Jose Peraza. This is losing, first you lost McNeil, so you lost some middle infield depth. Now Lindor, they had Acuna ready to go, and this is that organizational depth. This is Steve Cohen's Mets. So good signs for the Mets, and a lot of more exciting baseball to come. Number 2, let's touch on the Jets, who also had a huge win Thursday night. Their home opener, they beat the brakes off the Patriots 24-3. Offense looked good, defense looked good. And, I had the game on kind of in the background. I had the sound on. I just heard the general kind of like exhale and relief. And let's be honest, a Jets fan, which I'm not a diehard Jets fan. I'm Giants first, but I'll root for the Jets against any other team. They're the most downtrodden New York sports fan. Not in the playoffs since 2012, is it? It might even be earlier than that. But just the heartache of the last few years with Zach Wilson and Sam Darnold before that, to see Aaron Rodgers healthy and moving the ball, having control of the offense, the chance of Aaron Rodgers, I had to feel happy for Jets fans. And I feel good about my pick as them being true Super Bowl contenders this year. You have to feel good with that kind of win. And so I felt good just hearing the crowd noise, hearing good for the Jets fans. Number 3, I got a lot of good feedback from Tuesday's episode. I really appreciate my friend Mike coming on and doing the fantasy baseball chat. I want to say I saw, we saw a news report that CNN was reporting a Philadelphia man has pleaded guilty to making threats against a fantasy football rival. Yeah, a guy, he called in like fake terror threats to like Norway. The guy was doing a study abroad in Norway, and also to the University of Iowa. I mean, there's some sickos out there. I'm not at that level with Mike. Mike's had quite a week already, though. He has Shohei Ohtani on his team. And so if you look at the stat line Ohtani put up tonight, 6 for 6, 3 home runs, 2 stolen bases, 17 total bases, it goes on and on. It's been a tough start for me in the matchup, but I'm not at that level. So we're not that much of fanatics. Okay, let's head to our topic. Let's talk about local and regional sports. Now, I want to start with a recap, right, of how sports leagues and teams make their money. We shared this data on that episode 9. And we have 2023 revenue numbers. And just to summarize it, right, when it comes to the national versus local media, the NFL is all national, right? NFL, does not have any games really locally broadcast during the regular season. The NBA and MLB and NHL all have some local, a lot of national. So the NBA's mix is 41% of the revenues from the national deals, 13% is from the local deals. Major League Baseball is 26% from the national deals, 23% from the local deals. NHL, 19% from the national deals, 11% from the local deals. NHL has the biggest percentage of the revenue from ticket sales, 56%. So MLB, the 23%, MLB actually has the biggest local stake, which kind of makes sense. There's so many games. You can't, right now, no one's interested in covering all those games nationally. So they have a lot of state, local, and you kind of saw with the NBA with that huge $76 billion deal, they're even going more to national. So there's quite a bit of revenue at stake with the local teams. Let's understand that as context. But let me start with my personal story, right? Why can't I watch all the Mets I want to watch? Why can't I watch all the Knicks I want to watch? For starters, I have YouTube TV. I've had it since 2020. We've had it since 2020, 4 years. At that time, we switched, right? We cut the cord. So happy to do it from Verizon Fios. Really because of price, even though ironically YouTube TV ekes up each year, right? Gets closer and closer. But really the user experience, the unlimited DVRs, the ability to watch easily on my phone and on my computer and have multiple, streams going. Frankly, it was just cool and new at the time, right? Google. I'd rather, be a customer of Google than of Verizon. Now, I forget exactly when it happened. YouTube TV, which already didn't have Yes, that shows the Yankees, eventually dropped MSG, which shows the Knicks and some hockey, and then SNY last year in the middle of the Mets season. These moves happen. It's all about the money. YouTube cited the need to manage costs and avoid further price increases. Now, it's worth mentioning Hulu plus Live TV, which is Disney's offering, does have SNY on it. Fubo, a sports-focused offering, used to have SNY, but they cut it recently as well. And of course, the good old-fashioned cable offerings like Verizon Fios, Optimum, etc., they all carry SNY. I have options, but it would require my family to switch from YouTube TV. And as a recent conversation with my wife went, we have lots of shows and movies saved on YouTube TV. Kidding aside, YouTube TV is great. So easy to use. I'm sure Hulu is good too. We may switch there at some point. I'm definitely not getting the cable box back. I slammed that cable box down on the counter at Optimum, and they told me I had to wait in line, and I yelled, no, I'm not waiting in line, and I left it there and stormed out, and then I talked to my wife, and she's like, yeah, I have to go back inside, so I went back inside. Anyway, the cable box is gone. Now, one of the problems here, in general, right, the Mets or SNY really don't have yet a direct-to-consumer pure play option. So I rely on, this is what the industry calls MVPDs, multi-channel video programming distributors. Just think of like live TV, whether it's through the traditional cable or like the ones I mentioned, right? The Hulu Live TV, the YouTube TV, etc. Now, the Knicks do have direct to consumer. That's MSG Plus. You get Knicks plus hockey teams for $29.99 per month. At first I said, wow, that's high. My whole cable YouTube TV bill is $75 a month. But then I realized all I really watch is sports anyway. So I guess, shoot, that's probably what the channel should cost. So during the last Knicks season, yes, I signed up for MSG Plus for the final 2 months of the regular season. Team is getting hot. I caught some of the games on national TV. I had to get into the local. I had to be with the team. And the Yes Network does have now $24.99 a month. Something similar. That's for Yankees, Nets, and Liberty. But I guess the crux of it is, right, I'm right now I'm carrying a $75 YouTube TV package. I can't just take on another Hulu, another $70 just for SNY, because we got to choose one or the other. Whereas, hey, I'd actually really like to just pick which channel I want, which channels we want. We've heard the rumblings of the pure play direct to consumer options. It's all good and nice, but what really matters is the price. And back to my previous podcast, right? How much are they going to milk us, the fan, for? How big will our wallet share get? We're fanatics, right? We'll keep paying. I really just wanted to understand, though, how many people are out there like me who are hooked to YouTube TV? What percentage of fans cannot watch their local team's games? So we did a little bit of analysis. The MVPDs, right? There's about 68 million packages out there right now. I'm not going to go one by one, the levels. YouTube TV is definitely the biggest virtual MVPD that, the ones delivered over the internet, now with the cable box. YouTube TV has 8 million subscribers. For reference, Comcast and Charter have 14 million each. But YouTube TV is 8 million. The next closest VMVPD is Hulu plus Live TV at 4.6 million. But overall, as I looked at which ones don't work with the regional sports networks, like an SNY or in your locale, YouTube TV is one. Dish Network also apparently does not. We talked about Fubo. Fubo is partial, but not in New York. Sling TV is a no. And so, my estimates is 22% of all the subscribers to these big, live TV channel networks can't watch their RSNs, the regional sports networks, which is not a lot, which makes me realize, okay, maybe I thought there was a burning issue that YouTube TV cut all this stuff out. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not a burning issue. Still kind of sizable, but there are others like me. Let's zoom out. What's happening overall? Remember, my last episode of the national deals, live sports properties are extremely valuable and are some of the last remaining appointment television of our era. You saw in the NBA and NFL recent deals how big streamers like Netflix, Amazon, Disney-controlled ESPN, Comcast-controlled Peacock all bid heavily in one NBA and or NFL rights. None of those entities got involved in local rights deals. Does a Google-owned YouTube TV, did they want to negotiate with an SNY, an MSG? Why should they bother negotiating with one team when they can focus on the bigger bundle? Bundle's an attractive word. We learned that in business school. Bundle means you get it all. Green dollar signs. The bigger bundles are getting bigger. That NBA deal, James Dolan, governor of the Knicks, was a critic. His letter to the NBA Board of Governors in July wrote, and I quote, "The NBA has made the move to an NFL model, de-emphasizing and depowering the local market. Soon your only revenue concern will be the sale of tickets and what color next year's jersey will be. Don't worry, because due to revenue pooling, you are guaranteed to be neither a success nor a failure." He's writing to his fellow governors, fellow owners here. He went on to say that the league's new national deal renders the regional sports networks unviable. His big point is about the lessening of the game inventory available for RSNs, regional sports networks. Let's look at this, focusing on regular season NBA. In this new deal, NBC will have 100 games, Disney and ESPN 80, Amazon Prime 66. That's 246. That's actually really conveniently exactly 20% of the overall games inventory. If you did 82 times 15, right? Half the teams. Cleats by Dre, us, we did our own analysis, aided by Perplexity AI, of course. Nationally televised games this past year, so ESPN, ABC, and TNT. We're not counting NBA TV because those games are also, I believe, broadcast locally. But the ESPN, ABC, and TNT in the regular season came in at around 13% of that overall inventory. So 13% national is now going to 20% national. Trust and believe that Dolan understands that the league is going to 7% more national coverage, 7% less local coverage. Yeah, there are arguments that it's good to have more national exposure for your team, for your brand. But look, Dolan's executive chairman of MSG Networks. MSG Networks, with an operating income percentage of 17% in 2023, losing 7% of games makes having an RSN, a regional sports network, a bit unviable. So, of course, Adam Silver gave hints just last week that the league has been looking into a national streaming RSN platform as soon as 2025-2026, and that the league will look intensively into it over the next 6 months. A national streaming regional platform. That sounds like an oxymoron. You see, despite Dolan's email, Silver makes note that 18 of the league's RSNs had gone defunct or entered bankruptcy. Remember, Silver just secured a groundbreaking $76 billion deal that covers 100% of the playoffs and 20% of the regular season games. He knows there's more money to be secured for all the league governors if he addresses the rest of the regular season games. I think Silver looks at the all-national NFL model and salivates. Why wouldn't he want every game in every household? Now, on the Major League Baseball front, teams face similar local challenges. The bankruptcy of Diamond Sports Group affects about half the league's teams, and there's resistance from large market teams, Yankees, Dodgers, Red Sox, Cubs, who would earn less under a national model. MLB hopes to launch an in-market streaming service in 2025, with at least half of teams on board for the launch. Look, RSNs around the country, around the league, are struggling. Remember, this is a complex, uncertain landscape fighting ruthlessly over the most valuable property out there, live sports. So bundle it up. Fight stronger together. The local regional sports networks are struggling, and the bundled national, regional, pro platforms are coming. So what does this mean for fans? Let's do one quick sidebar that's partly relevant. The NFL recently voted to allow private equity investors into NFL teams, ownership groups. Now, there's never been a more obvious, we really only care about money than to allow this. And that's saying a lot coming from the NFL. An interesting note from today, actually, per multiple outlets, one specific consortium of private equity funds have been authorized to acquire up to 10% of up to 12 teams. If fully exercised, the group will have plenty of influence over league business. So basically, this consortium of 6 different private equity investors, they'll own partially a group of 12 teams. What does that mean for competition between the teams and knowledge sharing? And I guess there's got to be Chinese firewalls or something between them. Now, besides the question, at what point is too much money too much money? What's the future of the league? Imagine it now, the 2030 Super Bowl between the Blackstone Conference champion and the Carlisle Conference champion, who fought off the 6th Street Division winners. in a furious 17-13 defensive battle. Ugh. It really does seem like, though, the MLB and NBA salivate at the NFL all-national model. Is it in the interest of the leagues to intentionally or unintentionally change us into fans of the league instead of fans of specific teams? The Rob Lowe wearing an NFL hat gif comes to mind right now for those that remember that. I don't think this is crazy to think about, though. I have friends that say they like college basketball but can't get into the NBA. Right? Maybe they don't have a team where they grew up, or just the NBA overall, the product they talk about. Or certainly we heard Mike say last episode how he's more a fan of his fantasy team than a local MLB team. I certainly get more amped for fantasy football on Sundays than I do for the Giants, especially when they stink. And I hear of Premier League soccer fans. Sometimes I hear them having a favorite team, but sometimes not always. Sometimes it's just they like watching whatever teams are on. So is this good or bad? Folks, I'm resigning myself that in due time, I'll have less and less ability to just watch my local teams, the Mets, the Knicks, on an individual package. The ones who want me to be able to have those kind of packages, the team governors, right? James Dolan, of course. And to his credit, I don't think Steve Cohen really cares. He doesn't own SNY. I think he generally just wants to win a World Series. And bless his soul, because I do above all else. But my team's governors, they're not going to be able to gain sway with the league offices. The revenue sharing typically goes against, the big market teams. Nationalization, bundling is coming. National, regional sports networks, platforms, whatever you call it. And I also don't mean to cry for regional sports networks. They're businesses. They're big boys and girls. They're probably just as much to blame for being stubborn, for being ousted by YouTube TV and other platforms. There's something bigger at risk for the fan, though. Something that has nostalgia for me. I grew up watching every game I could. Every Mets game. The Mets were on FSNY, Fox Sports New York, and MSG also back in the 90s. It was Channel 3 or Channel 9. And it's well documented today how much Mets fans enjoy their Gary, Keith, and Ron, right? Gary Cohen, Keith Hernandez, Ron Darling on SNY. Back then, when the Mets would get selected for ESPN Sunday Night Baseball, I'm talking about the 90s, early 2000s, that was a treat. A novelty, a break from the norm. We got national exposure. In the future, that could just be everything. Not quite the scarcity effect. I'd also watch every Knicks game I could, too. Marv Albert, Mike Breen, they were ours before they were the country's broadcasters. And during some really dark decades in Knicks basketball, having a team legend like Walt Clyde Frazier in his ridiculous suits and his read a page of the dictionary every day rhetoric, whining and dining us, the games became more palatable. I hate NFL broadcasts. I'll say it. Soulless transactions. Feel like you're inviting strangers into your living room every Sunday. There's no connection you feel with your city, with your locale. There's no ongoing local conversation. So geez, with the way sports are headed, with the emphasis on fantasy sports and betting and analytics, have we already lost the soul and the art of the games? Quick side story before I answer that. A vignette into my life this week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I've thrown one AirPod into an ear as I'm doing bedtime. Look, the Mets are playing critical games against the Nats, and as you all know, I don't have access to SNY to watch. So I throw an AirPod in. The boys see me react to big plays, and of course, as 7-year-old boys get curious, and especially they want to do things alone with one of their parents that their younger brother's not doing, my oldest asks if he could listen too. So I throw him the other AirPod, and he's smiling, hearing the Mets announcers describe what's happening. I have no idea what's going on in his mind. He knows generally the rules of baseball and how it's played, but he can't possibly be able to follow the speed and understand what's happening just from listening. So I'd see him smile and I smiled. I'd see him tune into the ballpark music and start chanting, "Let's go Mets." along with me, and I'd see his eyes light up when commercials come on. He loves the commercials. As a parent, especially one of multiple kids, I cherish these cool little moments where you connect with one of them. And if I had the game on TV, it actually wouldn't have been the same. So I guess my point is to the question, have we lost the soul and art of the games and its power of connectivity? No, we haven't, and we won't. The games are the games. The social connection that gets generated with family and friends in a city won't go away completely. The magic of watching a young prospect step up to the bright lights of a playoff race and slash triples and play a stellar shortstop in a playoff race. Hearing the collective exhale and catharsis of 80,000 downtrodden, beat-down fans when they see a Hall of Fame quarterback finally healthy and giving them hope. What happens between the lines will remain. That's what sport is. And don't you know, that's what all these content providers are paying for also. They know it. They know you love it. So as we all navigate the turbulence of media rights deals, national and local, just make sure you keep your channel guide handy, your subscriptions fully subscribed, and have your QR codes and credit cards at the ready, and just ride along. The games will go on wherever and however they're on. Thanks for listening, Cleaters. If you like this episode, go back, check out my first on digital rights. It's episode 8, Media Deals and Sports Fans, Who's Really Winning? And find me on social media at CleatsByDre_pod on X and Instagram. Drop me a comment. Okay, take care. Talk to you soon.